Postables and Hallmarkies. Welcome to Deliver Me a Podcast. Today we are so excited to bring a very special interview to you guys. First, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Kaycee.
Hello, everybody.
And of course, we have Cammie.
Hi, guys.
And with us today, we have a very special guest, a fellow Postable and author, Rachel Fordham. Rachel, thanks so much for coming on with us.
Hey, everyone.
So just to start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you've got started in writing?
So I'm kind of a stay-at-home mom. I actually do the books for our business at home, and so it's real flexible. But I just had a baby, and I felt like I needed a creative outlet. And so I said to my husband, like, oh my gosh, I need something else. And he said, well, you read so much, why don't you write a book? And it just like all clicked. Like I'd always been a reader. I'd always loved stories. If I watched a movie, I always would like brainstorm like what happened next. And so I kind of just decided to be brave and give it a try. And so who am I? Like I am a mom and a wife, and but I'm also an author. But I didn't discover that until I was like I just turned 30.
Okay.
And I live on an island in Washington State. We have 6 kids, but we foster, so there's usually more than 6 kids around here. So it's like a total, like, it's always loud, but it's tons of fun. And so I guess I'm kind of one of those weird, just like family's my favorite thing. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. Did you have any authors that kind of influenced you in kind of wanting to start writing or anything like that?
Well, I'd always loved the classics, and I'd always loved, you had a lot of favorites growing up. And so when I decided to kind of take on this endeavor to try to write, I had no idea that there were such things as writers' conferences or critique groups or anything like that. And so I just kind of on my own was like, how do I learn how to write now that I want to do this? And so I went back to all my old favorites and I read them and asked myself, why is this so good? Why is this my favorite? What did the author do to make, like, to suck me in? And so I kind of like self-taught myself from, I don't think that I write like Charlotte Bronte or Jane Austen or any of them, but I read their works and asked myself those kind of questions. So yeah, they definitely influenced me because they were my teachers, my instructors.
Yeah, that's a really kind of smart way to go about it. So like, what does your like actual process look like? Do you like write start to finish, or do you write like chunks and then connect them later? Or how do you go about like plotting out your stories?
So in the writing world, they always call authors either pantsers, which means you write by the seat of your pants, or plotters, where you have it all plotted out. And I think it's kind of a spectrum. And so I probably like, if this is plotters and this is pantsers, I'm like, ooh, like here. So I usually know where I want to start and where I want to. And the rest is kind of like, I kind of just, I don't know, run with it. So when I write a rough draft, like a lot of writers are like, oh, you have to write every day. It's like a muscle. You have to keep it exercise kind of thing. I don't adhere to that at all, because my life is really crazy and there's times when I don't write at all. But when I'll look at my calendar and I'll be like, okay, I don't have nearly as many commitments right now, so I'm going to do a rough draft in this time frame, because when I write a rough draft, I tend to write it really quickly. And I think it's because I'm a pantser, so I can't just like set it aside. I have to just kind of get in that world and write it. So I usually like write a rough draft really quickly and then I edit it slowly.
I mean, you want to get all the ideas out, even if it's like, just go, just keep writing, and then edit it slowly. I totally get that. I studied English and I did a bunch of like writing classes in college. So that was one thing that we learned to do, is write fast and then edit, rewrite, yes. Edit.
Right. I don't edit while I go at all, because it just slows me down. And so I don't worry about like grammar. I don't worry about word choice or anything until the story's out there. Because what's the point of editing it when you don't, if it's not even going to be a story, right?
Right. Yeah. It's easy to get really caught up in those details. And like you said, then you don't really get anything done. So
that's really good advice, because I'm currently writing a novel. And so I'm going to totally take that.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, mom to mom, and we all love writing here. Is there a certain time of day that you prefer writing?
Oh gosh, yes.
Are you a midnight writer?
Okay, so when I started writing, I told you I just had a baby, and he would wake up every morning, like around 1 or 2 in the morning to nurse. And so I would start writing when my other kids went to bed until he woke up to nurse. And one night he didn't wake up at all. And so I wrote all night because I was just waiting for him to like cry. I'd feed him and then I'd finally go to bed. So I was definitely, and I think maybe I was younger then. I'm not that much older, but I feel a lot older. So I write a lot at night. I've never had the luxury of like picking what's most convenient for me. And so it's always been like nap time, the school pickup lane, you know. I would love to do it during the day, but it doesn't usually happen.
Yeah.
So you currently have 2 books out. The first one was Hope of Azure Springs. And then, of course, Postable's favorite, Yours Truly, Thomas, which we'll get to in a bit. And then you have a 3rd one releasing next month, A Life Once Streamed. And so out of those 3, do you have a favorite or one that was a little bit more meaningful to you?
So I think because I just like deeply get into that world while I'm writing it. So whatever I'm writing is usually my favorite at the moment, but probably the most memorable when I like think back and they're not all blurred together. The Hope of Azure Springs, when I started writing that one, not only is it my first published book, so it's, you know, it's like your first baby, you remember everything about them, right? But I started writing it and then I was about a third or halfway through it and it was going so well. And then my son, who was 4 at the time, he got like really, really sick. Like he almost died. I took him to the hospital and he was putting himself in a coma. And it ended up like spiraling into this like months of like diagnosis and learning new medications and things. And I didn't write for 5 months. I didn't even open my laptop. And when I finally went back to it, I like felt guilty because it was so trivial in comparison to what I had just gone through. And so I'm like it was hard to go back to it, but I just kept feeling like, go finish the story, go finish the story. And the story has so much to do with like living your life after hard things have happened, that when I went back to it, it was just so interesting because it felt like these messages in the story were for me, you know, as I was trying to like find my new normal after what we just gone through. And so as far as like life altering, like I'll always remember the writing experience and the messages in it is probably that book. But all of them have just been a journey that have been really fun, and so much of it is for the reader, but there's also so much that has been for me, you know, as I like dive deep into the characters and try to like, you know, I don't think any of they're not like preachy with messages, but they have like little, you know, things woven in, and usually half the time they're for me, so hopefully other people like them too.
For sure. I've only read Yours Truly, Thomas. I haven't read the first one, but I really want to. I just have to say, I used to be an avid Christian fiction, clean fiction reader when I was younger, and then they got really redundant and boring for me. And so then when we found out about you and then your book, and then I read it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so good. Like, I don't even know what's happening right now. I don't know where this is going. I was really excited. So I just want to say thank you for sacrificing your sleep to write all these,
and probably a lot of sanity.
Yeah.
You know, it's like therapy for me. Writing is very like, it's like this perfect escape. You know, if you can't, like, especially COVID, I'm like, who's going for a girls' night out? But I'm like, I can always hang out with Penny and Thomas, you know? So
Exactly.
It's been a great addition to my life. Like, so, but I'm really glad that it's extra, it's like doubly blessed when it's like made my life good and someone else's. And so those reviews are always really fun to hear.
So whose story is The Hope of Azure Springs? Because it was kind of obvious at the end with your little author's note that Thomas was a sequel. Yours truly, Thomas. So whose story is Hope of Azure Springs? Which character?
They're not in it very much, but Em and Caleb, they're just side characters. He used to be the sheriff. She takes Penny around a little bit. It's their story, but Margaret's in it a lot too, and the twins. So.
Okay. So it was mostly a return of the surrounding characters of the town.
Yeah, they're standalone still.
Okay. Got it. All right. So I too have only read yours truly, Thomas, and now I got all excited to to read The Hope of Azure Springs. So, with yours truly, Thomas, what part or parts were the best for you to write? What part was the most fun that you got really inspired and just went on a writing spree? What was the hardest part? You know, all of that.
Okay. So of all the books I've written, which there's quite a few now, just they're not all out yet. Yours Truly Thomas was the hardest book for me to write.
Oh, really?
I think because every time I turned it in, like I loved my editor. We got along excellent, but she would ask for like really big changes, and the editorial notes back are fun because the books end up better. But I would, like usually it's like, oh, can you tweak this paragraph or this little minor thing? And it was like major character changes. So you know how Penny obviously leaves Washington, D.C. and goes to Azure Springs. The first draft of it, her mom is like the nicest person in the whole world. And her mom is really sick and she's dying. And so she keeps telling Penny, like, you've been working on this job to help me, like now that like when I go, like go and live your life kind of thing. And so she's giving her permission essentially to go. And so when the editor was like, that's a major change, right? I have to come up with a new reason for her, motivation for her to leave. I have to come up with someone else to give her all these pieces of wisdom to fall back on. And so those kind of changes just have a huge trickle effect. And so you have to essentially alter the entire novel to fit that change. And so this novel, and then I had to introduce a dog because someone to talk to, right? Like there wasn't even a dog in the first draft, right? In the end, it was all worth it. Like my editor was right. Like I think that it's a better book. It's not so sad in the beginning. But the journey of writing it was very, I usually like open my editorial notes and I'm excited because my editor's always like kind of gushes over it and it's fun. And this time I was like, oh, it's another, I hope she liked it because they were always really big, until we got it to a place where we were all really happy with it. So, but I loved getting to use the letters. Like that was a format that I had to use, and you really get to get inside of a character's head in a different way by utilizing letter writing. And so I really loved that. Part of it.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration and what made you think of going the DLO route?
Yeah. So it's fun because every novel, it's like one little thing will kind of spark the story. And so I was actually in the Midwest with my kids. And if you've been to the Midwest, it's beautiful farmland. There's not a lot for kids to do. And so there was a lot of like, my kids were really bored in the car as we're driving through. And we ended up coming upon we went to this like old post office that we got to tour. And my kids were still bored, but they were out of the car. And we're listening, and the guy who's giving the tour says, if we can't find we would return the letters. It was like a historic old office. And he was saying, if they couldn't find the owners, we would send the letters back to the dead letter office. And I was with my sister, and I like grabbed her hand, and I was like, I am going to Google that when I get home because I'd never heard of the dead letter office. And, I'm just thinking, what a perfect way for two characters to come together. And so that was what sparked the idea. And then, of course, I had to build a story around it, like why is his letter lost and all of those things. But that was the initial like catalyst for the story because I had never heard of Signed, Sealed, Delivered or the Dead Letter Office at the time. And so, yeah, that was the moment.
Well, I got to tell you, I was completely expecting Penny to bring Thomas and Clara together. And so I went, oh my gosh, Clara's dead? Oh, this just took a huge spoiler alert, Kimmy. Oh, right. Spoiler alert. Probably shouldn't have done that.
That's okay.
Yeah, completely different turn than what I was expecting. So,
yeah, right.
Same. I think my reaction was, wait, what? And I think I had to
thought
go back and read it.
I thought the staff was lying to her. I thought they were like keeping her in a room away and she had no idea who was at the door, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that was my thought too. It's been a while since I've read it, but I think that was my thought too, Kaycee, is that they were like just some covert thing going on.
Yeah. And I think that's why I loved it so much, is because like I thought it was going one direction, and plot twist. Like, what? So good.
Well, for me is that sometimes I don't know how it's going to work out either. You guys haven't read The Hope of Azure Springs, but let me tell you, there was a part in it where I was like, oh, I sure hope I can come up with a way for this to work, you know. And even this one, I'm like, I did not know how I was going to handle this stuff with Jeb and him until it happened. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to explain this. But I think it worked. So.
What parts of you live in Penny that came out in the story? What parts of yourself did you put into Penny?
Okay, so I love Penny, and I think there's people really like Penny who are maybe a little bit more run with their emotions and stuff. She was a harder character for me to write because I tend to be more practical and level-headed. Like, I in some ways related to her friend Dinah a little better, and the people who were kind of teaching Penny, you know, what love looks like, and that it can look a little bit different. But it was a message that I really wanted to get across, you know, that romance doesn't always look one way. And so I needed kind of a, I don't know, head in the stars, whatever that saying is, type of character. And so I would say I'm more in the side characters in this one than in her, even though, I mean, I'm a romantic, but I'm a practical romantic. So, but I love Penny.
Cammie and I were laughing because Cammie and I had this exact conversation that Cammie is like Penny and I'm like Dinah.
And Kaycee's like Penny too.
I don't know about that. I think I'm more of a mix.
Well, yes, but I would put you more toward Penny than I would put you more towards Dinah.
I can be Margaret.
Margaret's a hopeless romantic too. She's pushing them, you know.
She's the meddler.
See, but that's me.
So I found a lot of pieces of wisdom throughout the book, and it was actually very, very inspiring. I think it was around somewhere between page 58 and page 62, and I remember it because I looked at the page while I was reading it because I started to sob. I really and truly did. And it's when Penny says that she's stuck and she has got to get out and she's got to do it for herself. And I just started to cry because I have felt that way. I have felt that way that I'm currently kind of stuck in a rut. And I got so inspired by Penny going through the steps of getting herself unstuck. I'm like, I'm gonna get myself unstuck, dang it. But so what if there was so you wrote that part incredibly well. I give it 5 stars out of 5. If there was one piece of wisdom in yours truly, Thomas, that you would want people to take away or glean from it. So if there was a group of people reading the book and you say, okay, if you don't learn anything else from this book, learn this, what would it be?
Okay. I think that I like maybe Thomas's journey and the idea that that if we're still here, we still have a purpose and we can grow and change. Because he felt like it was over for him because he'd made some mistakes, and that's just not how it is. And so I really like that message, but I'm gonna give you 2 because I also really love that Penny figures out that love is so many different things, that it's, you know, like him nursing her when she's sick, and it's, you know, it's just so much. It is the candy and the flowers and the tingles too, you know, but that's gotta be balanced with other stuff. So those are probably my 2 favorite messages in this particular story.
I would agree. So last one for me, if yours truly, Thomas, turned into a Hallmark movie, who would you want to play Penny and Thomas? And can I call Margaret? I'm too old to play Penny, so can I call Margaret?
Okay, that's fine with me. You're gonna have to like curl your hair even more though, because
I can do it. I can totally do it.
Okay. I'm not very good with actors and actresses' names. So I think that Thomas needs to be someone who can pull off the like mopey lead. You know what I'm saying? So who is that? You tell me.
Wes Brown. I bet you anything Wes Brown could pull it off. He's getting a little old. He's getting a little old to play Thomas, but if you did an older version, Wes Brown is very handsome no matter what look you put on him, but when he's clean shaven, he's gorgeous. So
I was going to say Ryan Pavey.
Oh, Ryan Pavey. Yeah, he could pull it off. He definitely could. And he's younger.
He is, yeah.
So
I think Penny would have to be someone who's can kind of pull off the I don't think she's ditzy. I don't think that's her at all, but I think someone who can pull off the kind of silly romantic a little bit more.
Rachel Boston.
Yes, Rachel Boston. Yes.
I have to look these people up, but I'm
we got the movie all worked out. You don't even need Hallmark. We got it.
So
When Calls the Heart viewers and Signed, Sealed, Delivered, it's like they both meet and have a baby with yours truly, Thomas, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I Yes.
Do it.
Kaycee and I are both When Calls the Heart fans as well. So we totally agree with that sentiment. Oh, Kaycee, Eva Bourne.
Oh, yes.
She would do a good Penny.
She would do a good Penny.
She would do a good Penny.
Clara
And When Calls the Heart.
When Calls the Heart.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know who that is.
She would be a good Penny.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we should start a petition.
All right, Postables, we got to figure out a hashtag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtag Thomas and Hallmark. There we go. Oh gosh. That's funny. Oh, that's funny.
So fun. All right, Hallmark, Michelle Vickery, since you know we're BFFs, we're going to make this happen.
Hey, she's retweeted me before, so I get closer.
It's. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Hallmark movie Mail Order Bride.
Yes.
Oh, but I want to because I've been hearing about it.
I have seen it.
Yeah, this is kind of like this way sweeter version of that movie.
A way sweeter version.
Way sweeter version of that movie. It's a good movie. It's just, it had me a little shook there. But when I was reading this book, my thought was, I didn't think of the When Calls the Heart, Signed, Sealed, Delivered baby, although that's really good. I thought the way sweeter, way nicer version of Mail Order Bride.
Okay, so how about this? So it's When Calls the Heart and Signed, Sealed, Delivered have a baby. And then over here, it's Mail Order Bride meets Love Comes Softly.
Oh, yeah. We'll make it happen.
Okay.
Alrighty. So here's the segment that all the Postables have been waiting for.
This is the one they want.
Signed, sealed, delivered. So Rachel, why don't you tell us how you found out about Signed, Sealed, Delivered?
Well, when Yours Truly Thomas came out, I started getting messages from readers saying, I loved your book. Have you watched this show? And I would politely write back and say, no, I haven't. I don't have any stations, like we watch movies, whatever. And it kept happening and kept happening. And then I finally said to my mom, I said, oh my gosh, like everyone keeps telling me about this show. And she was like, oh, I have that. And I'm like, you do? And so I borrowed it from my mom. And I am not a huge, I just don't sit and watch TV constantly. I'll watch it here and there, but I usually write at night, so it's sporadic. And so I started watching it, and here's the honest truth. I did not expect to like it. I was watching it so I could tell all these readers that I'd watched it. And I love it. It is my favorite, and I don't even want to tell you how I watched it because it's a lot. So I watched it, and that's how I found it.
I mean, I think all of us combined have watched it probably 500,000 times. So you are in good company.
I mean, the Postables, we watch it every Friday.
Yeah.
There's a Twitter rewatch.
Yeah. Which, if you think about it, if there's 20 movies in the episodes and they rewatch everything, that's about 3 times a year on average. So
Something like that.
Yeah. So what do you like most about Signed Sealed?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to give you multiple answers.
That's okay.
I love that I can watch it with my kids. Like I think the only one I didn't watch with my younger kids was the Dark of Night episode, and only because, not because it wasn't handled tastefully, but it was just like above them, and I didn't want to explain it to them. All the rest of them, I just sat there and I got so nervous in this series that Oliver was not going to be a gentleman. You know, like as I'm watching, like you can tell that he's starting to have feelings for, and I was like, no, I don't want to have to explain to my kids. And it actually, like, he was such a gentleman, and it led to like beautiful conversations about how we, you know, like we have like things come in our lives that we want, but we make the right choice. Even, you know, I mean, it was just done so well that I loved it. So I love that it was family friendly. But it wasn't like just for my kids, like it was totally for me too. I love that it has like the slow burn romance, like where you can just like feel it when he holds her hand because you've been waiting for so long. And that's what I like to write. That's what I like to read. So I love that. The writer in me, it just really appreciates Martha's writing. You can tell that she has thought this series through early on, so you don't have the like totally random drama to try to keep a story going. Like it feels so natural. I'm totally impressed with her writing, and those are a few, but I could go on and on. I love the messages. I love that I cry. I love the acting. So yeah, I love Norman. He's so cute.
Norman.
I know.
We all love
We love Norman.
Dorman.
So which of the 4 postables are you most like?
Okay, so I asked my kids that, and all of us, and we all like debated. I have one son who I'm like, he is a Norman. Like, he's so adorable, but he's gonna need to find like the perfect Rita someday. And everyone else, I'm like, oh, you're all like a mix, you know? For me, they all decided that I was like an Oliver, like somewhere between Oliver and Shane, but I like words, I like old-fashioned things, I like morals and values and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think I'm quite as like uptight as he is, but you know, so I like a little bit more on the like laugh and relax side too.
So tell us about the awesome lost letter game you did with your kids, because I believe when you had watched it with them the first time, I think you had done a party for the last movie. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so last summer when I decided to watch it, I watched it with the kids, and they were just like, I didn't know if they'd like it, but they were like getting more and more into it. And like they got to the point where they were like, that's like where their pretend play would be like, I'm Oliver O'Toole and I'm Miss McInerney. And like my 4-year-old, actually at the time he was 3, and he would come up to me and he'd go, do you want to be Miss McInerney? And I'm like, it was adorable. That was like, I think he loved it mostly because his big brothers and stuff were into it. But so they totally all got into it. And then I was like, oh, they're having so much fun. We never like binge watch shows like this. So I'm like, I just decided to play it up a little bit. So one morning when they woke up, I just had like, my husband and I had gotten like made these like letters with clues in them. And he was like dipping them in like chocolate and like tearing them up. And I like lit one on fire. And so we like had them like waiting on the counter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, like there's lost letters at our house. And they just played right along. Like they wouldn't even, like we never use letter openers. They would not open them with their fingers. Like I had to go get letter openers so that they could open them because, you know.
True Oliver fashion.
And so it was just going to be this like one-time thing. And then they like wake up the next morning and they're like, where's our letters? And so, you know, it just kind of became this thing. Cause I think we watched it over like the whole show over like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks or 4, I don't know, something like that. And so I made a lot of lost letters. Like I got really creative, like gum, I mean, all kinds of stuff. They were super into it. It was really fun. And so then on the last one, I like left them an invitation to the altar and like got a little owl thing and like an invitation. And then we had like Yoo-Hoo's and Rita's brownies, and they put on a Seinfeld delivered pageant. Like I missed, not miss because I have a lot of boys, a special delivery pageant. I mean, I had like my kids play the saxophone, they play the piano. Some of them did ninja moves because they're 4 and they thought that would probably help them win the title. So it was whole thing. I should have videotaped it because you guys would have all really enjoyed our time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was, and then we watched it, we drank Yoo-Hoos. I mean, so we just had this party, and it was just so fun because, like, I think summer is just, it's fun anyway because everyone's home, but I think it's like, when they talk about last summer, they're like, oh, the Sign Still Delivered summer, it just kind of became this thing, and it was just so fun, and now, if I pull it out, which we haven't watched very often, but a couple months ago, like one of the kids pulled out for Friday night movie night. They were like, can we just watch A Sign Still Delivered? And I was like, okay. Then we started it and watched the whole thing again, and then my sister came to visit and she's like, I've never seen it. And I'm like, okay, you're here for 8 days. We can probably do this.
Here's the burning question. When your kids were holding their letter openers and they were refusing to open letters unless they had their letter openers, did one of the boys say, being dispatched with my own letter opener? Now that is poetic justice.
I might have died had they said that. That would have been so sweet. Whatever the like the lines where they have a little bit of attitude, that's the lines they probably would have used on me. So.
Right.
I love that. That is so adorable. Oh my goodness.
It's so fun.
All right. But as much as we would like to talk about Sign Still Delivered all day, we have other exciting news to talk about, mainly your next book that is releasing on August 4th. And can you just share like a short synopsis of what it's about?
Okay, synopses are really hard for me. But we have Agnes, and she lives in Buffalo, New York, and she leaves it, and you don't really know why. She runs away from it, and she's got money and everything, and she leaves it, and she goes to the Dakota Territories, because it's in 1880, I think. And so, like, at the beginning, you don't know why she went there, and then her former love interest shows up in town, and so she can't keep running for her past, and she has to confront it. That's like a really brief synopsis. I really love it. I actually wrote it. They're not coming out in the order I wrote it. So this is actually the one I wrote after The Hope of Azure Springs. And it's just a really tender story of people confronting things that they're not in control of and forgiving and talking. And I don't know. I love it. And this is the thing, I think you're maybe going to ask me this, but that makes it stand out from my other books is that in The Hope of Azure Springs and Yours Truly Thomas, my main characters don't know each other at the start of the book. So we start out at like this, at the friendship level and have to grow, to the romantic level. Well, these characters knew each other. It's been 6 years, but they were engaged prior to the book. And so it's really
a lot of history.
And so like right away you get to have chemistry and you get to have, like all those feelings. It's all still, really clean, but like I get to play around with the romantic side of it a lot earlier, which was fun for me.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a particular inspiration for this novel?
Yeah and no. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of how I can tell you without telling you. The reason that, there was a specific thing that made me think, oh, I want to build a story around that, but it's kind of a big secret to the book, so I'm not going to tell you. Yeah.
We will have to wait to find out.
But yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But it features a little kid in it. This is probably why I love Norman, because I foster. Norman's a foster kid, and so he just touches my heart. I'm like, oh, I'll adopt you. But this book, later in the story, so this isn't giving anything away, but there is a little boy in it who doesn't have a home for whatever reason, and I really loved writing that part of the story because I got to put some of my other passion into the story because I love writing, I love parenting, I love these things. I also feel really strongly about fostering and loving these little people that just need someone to love them.
Wow. What can you share with us regarding your 2021 release?
Okay, so my 2021 release takes place in Buffalo, New York, which I actually lived there for 4 years. Okay, so go with me on this because it's not going to sound romantic at first, but My main character is a dentist because okay, so dentists are never romantic characters, right? And so my husband is a dentist, and we always like laugh because anytime that they're in the media, we're like either like creepy or they're like the comic relief. And so I was like, I am going to write a romantic dentist that will like everyone will be like, no, dentists are romantic. And so my main character is a dentist, but you're gonna love him. I love him. But yeah, anyway, so that's it. It has to do with him and then his dental assistant that were called ladies in attendance at the time who works for him. She has a huge major backstory, and so it's about them. I'm really horrible at synopses. I'm sorry. So yeah, but he's really romantic, so you should.
I'm here for this. Romantic dentist.
She is selling this point. Romantic dentist. There we go.
There's a Hallmark movie we have yet to see, right?
That's true.
There is romance in dentistry.
I'm telling you, call me back in 2021. Is that when it's coming out? In 2021, when it comes out, and you tell me if you think he's romantic, because I think he is. I think Oliver could play him, maybe.
Oh, Eric Navius.
I could see it.
I could.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
He could totally be a dentist. If he can be a sheriff, he can be a dentist.
Yeah.
You know.
He's a sheriff? Wait, what is he a sheriff in?
In a Christmas movie, in a Hallmark Christmas movie, he was a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to watch that. Although, okay, so we brought home a movie. I borrowed a movie from my mom that has him in it, and my daughter saw the cover and she was like, "Mom, why would you watch this? Oliver can only be with Shane." And so she would not watch it with me. So I don't remember the title, but there's like a girl who's trying to who's like his dating coach kind of thing.
Oh,
How to Fall in Love! How to Fall in Love! We love that one!
Yes.
She wouldn't watch it. She would not watch it. And she is 10 and she will watch anything romantic. She refused because he's only Oliver. So I don't know if I'll ever get to see the sheriff movie. She's my girl to watch stuff with.
Oh no. Yeah, I think that one, the Christmas one, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Was that it?
No, that's another one.
No, that's
Welcome to Christmas.
He's a mayor. He's a mayor in that one. And welcome.
Also a good one.
Yeah, and welcome.
Yes.
And
Okay,
welcome
welcome
to
to
Christmas.
Christmas.
He's the sheriff.
Sheriff.
Yeah, they both have Christmas in the title. I'm just kidding. I did watch it. Yeah.
You've only seen like 200 Christmas movies, Kaycee. Get them all straight, okay?
Okay.
Oh man.
Do you have any other projects that you're currently working on that you can tease?
Yeah. I wrote a book during quarantine that just got accepted to be my 2022 release. So I am way ahead, which is
Congrats.
That is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. It has some tie-ins to a Life One stream and it's just little side characters that pop in, which was really fun. But it's, I won't give you any, it's way down the road. So we'll talk about it later, but it's kind of romantic too.
Alrighty, Postables and Hallmarkies. We have had so much fun talking about all these things, but the fun isn't over yet because Rachel is actually going to be giving away one of her 3 books to one of you guys.
Woo!
Again. Because they just did this with the Postables Facebook group, and so now we're doing another one.
So you get another chance if you didn't win to get a book. It's all great.
Which is super exciting. And the 3 books, if you need to write it down, it's The Hope of Azure Springs, Yours Truly Thomas, or A Life Once Dreamed, which is coming out in just a couple of weeks, which we're really excited about. So how can you win? Yes, to enter. Just comment on either Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram with what you liked best about this podcast episode. And also make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram and all the things. And we'll shout out our Instagram handles at the very end. And definitely be sure to follow Rachel so you can be up to date on all her upcoming projects and all her new stories. And maybe you'll get some inside scoop about future books. So be sure to follow her on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, so we are looking forward to hearing all about your thoughts about our episode.
I know what Jess's favorite part is going to be if she could enter. She can't because she's part of the podcast, but I know what her answer would be.
What would it be?
Oh, you would definitely say that your favorite part was all the romance talk. Oh, yeah.
We went over this. I am not Penny. I'm Dinah. And yes, non-romantics can like Hallmark.
She's living proof, Postables.
Right. It can happen. It's like a weird alternate universe, but it can happen.
We're going to start calling you the proof Postable.
All right, Postables, we've had so much fun chatting with Rachel, and as always, we love to end our interviews with just some silly, fun questions. Although today we have a special twist, since all of us here are writers in some form. We have a author-writer edition of our typical Teen Beat questions. Number one, what are you reading right now?
Just finished a book. I haven't started anything. I was gonna grab a book off my shelf. Can't find anything. I promise I'll start a book. I'll leave it in the comments. I'll start a book tonight. So I just finished Hadley Beckett's Next Dish. I finished it last night.
Okay, that works. That works.
Okay.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Library or bookstore?
Bookstore.
E-reader or physical book?
Physical book.
Mm-hmm.
That's my girl.
Yes.
I will say, if I can't wait, I will download it on an e-reader on my thing. Like, it's got to be really good. So, computer or pen and paper?
Computer.
Oxford comma or no Oxford comma?
Oh, I don't know how to do grammar.
I was gonna say there's only one right answer to that question, and it's Oxford comma.
I need an editor.
She's just the creative muscle.
I can't even play Mad Libs because I can't keep it all straight.
Chicago or Turabian editing?
That's another grammar thing. So I'm gonna go with Chicago.
Good answer.
Okay.
Always safe to go with the word you know.
They're essentially virtually the same thing. It's just preferential. It's like Coke or Pepsi, you know. So, what is your go-to writing snack?
Popcorn.
Oh.
And lastly, if you can pick, what is your favorite book or series?
I'm gonna go with Jane Eyre.
Oh, Jane Eyre's a fabulous one.
All right. Well, that wraps up our Teen Beat. And so thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on and talking with us. We have had a blast, and maybe Postables will release part of a blooper reel because there was many behind the scenes laughs for this episode. And Kaycee, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Hallmark My Words.
And Cammie, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Cammie Drama Girl, on Facebook, the Hooked Hardy Facebook page, and my blog is hookedhardy.com.
And Rachel, how can people follow you and learn more about your books?
Okay. My website is rachelfordham.com. On Facebook, I'm Facebook/Rachel Fordham's fans. On Instagram, I am Rachel_Fordham.
All right. And you can find me at Jess BSW blog on Twitter and Instagram, or you can check out my website, beneathstillwaters.com. You can follow the podcast at Deliver Me a Pod or Deliver Me a Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And you could also check out all of our lovely Postables merch in the merch store. And also don't forget to follow the wonderful Hallmarkies podcast and all of the Hallmark content that we cover there as well. I think that's about it. We're so excited to bring this episode to everybody, and I hope you enjoyed as well. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.